Recently, the case of a young quadriplegic who's asked doctors to end his life made the news here in China. 22-year-old Hao Yun was paralyzed from the neck down in a car accident. He says a life lying motionless in bed is unbearable and that he simply is a burden to his family. But Hao Yun's requests have been refused. Chinese law forbids depriving another person of their life, and legally, so-called mercy killings are equivalent to murder.
Well, the debate over euthanasia has been running since 1986. Then a man whose terminally ill mother was in great pain persuaded a doctor to administer a lethal dose of drugs. Both he and the doctor were found guilty of murder and spent 6 years in detention before being released by a higher court. The man himself then got a stomach cancer. When he asked his family and doctors to help him die, they refused, and he died in great pain in 2003.
So now Hao Yun and 16 other patients in similar conditions have begun an internet campaign to appeal for Chinese law to allow doctors to end the lives of patients who request it. Well, we went out on the streets of China and asked people here, do you think euthanasia should be legalized in China?
I think euthanasia should be legalized. That means if a patient is suffering from a disease, they'd have the legal right to choose to die. But if there's no law, there could be disputes. For example, the patient might choose euthanasia, but then their family might not agree, and then they could go after the hospital or the doctor after their death. It's better to have it legally recognized.
Some people are in favor of euthanasia, but still think it's a really terrible thing, and it's difficult to say whether it should be legalized or not. Because there's no law, there's no basis for confirming whether it's legal or illegal.
Euthanasia should be legalized, but the law must be drawn up extremely carefully to prevent abuse, and it should respect the patient's opinion. In some cases, it could be difficult to tell who really wants euthanasia, the patients or the people around them. If that isn't addressed, a law like this couldn't work.
I don't think euthanasia should be a legal issue. It's a personal thing, and the people should be free to decide by themselves. The country doesn't need to legislate for it. It all depends on discussion between the hospital, the patients, and their family. Even if a law was made for euthanasia, it wouldn't satisfy everyone. I think it's inhuman to decide on using euthanasia through the law.
Well, the subject of euthanasia, a hugely controversial one here in China, as of course it is in many other parts of the world.